Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Daxtago Playbook Show, where every month we talk about ways you can level up your sales game with AI while keeping it human. Today, with our co-founder and CEO, Ioanna Onasi. So, Ioanna, thank you very much for being here and taking the time.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. Appreciate it, Costa.
Now, it's really important for all of us to hear from you and give us some Daxtago updates and new features. What is going on with the company right now?
Yes, as you know, startups move super fast, so a lot of things are going on. But I guess the one thing that I would like to talk about is the latest addition to the AI coaches team, Arden, who is our leadership AI coach, and really helps managers improve skills such as coaching others, leading with empathy, dealing with conflict, providing feedback. All these skills that anyone in manager position needs to do on a daily basis but might not feel comfortable doing so. They just don't have the skill set yet. Historically, these couple of skills I mentioned have been top of mind. I think a few others that we've added that are very interesting are cultivating self-awareness and inspiring and motivating. The reason why I say that is because if you saw a post I made on LinkedIn recently, I said you can't teach anyone any management skill unless you've taught them self-awareness. Right? If I don't know who I am, how do I show up as a leader? How am I going to provide you feedback? How will I make you feel comfortable? So self-awareness is key. I think especially in a remote setting where people sometimes feel uncomfortable doing certain things like giving a performance review or receiving it. A leader has to create that culture of and sense of belonging. So if they don't start with themselves first, it's very hard to do it for the rest of the team. And in terms of the other skill I mentioned, motivation and inspiration, we are in very tough times, right? Globally, in this country in general, there is a lot going on, and we see statistically employees being disengaged. They're afraid of losing their jobs, so they stay in those roles without being fully satisfied. Productivity goes down. So the bet I believe a lot of people are making today in C-suite is investing in that management position so that they can build a relationship with the rest of the employees and get them back to being engaged and retain them, of course, because you don't want your team to be leaving and having to hire new ones, training again and again, and it's a vicious cycle of ineffectiveness and lost money, to be honest.
Oh, that's very interesting. Rotating talent, it's always a trouble, and understanding these different types of coaching each one of your employees may need. I myself am a very different type of manager depending on the BDR I'm talking to. Some of
Right.
them I micromanage because they need it. They need that more broader style of approach of being there with them, helping them with the calls. Other ones, literally, I can just let them be and they perform the best. If I am on top of them, they're going to be like, oh no, please.
Yeah, and you're spot on. I think you can find out their personality as you go, but what if you could already know that before joining the call? I think that's the beauty of Dextago, giving those psychographic data prior to the call and doing a practice specifically for the employer about to speak to, no generic role play and oh, I'm speaking to an IT person. No, I'm speaking to John with that personality, that background. That's the issue I'm experiencing, and that becomes much more realistic and effective for changing behavior. And lastly, you and I have talked a lot about Gen Z. I think there is the first time ever where we have so many generations in the workplace, and each deal with things differently. Each has separate expectations. So unless you know how to tailor your management style for that message to come across, it's gonna be very hard and exhausting.
Yes, definitely. There is no solution that fits all. And that brings me to a very specific question that you have introduced specialized AI coaches, sales management, leadership skills, motivation, just what you're saying. Why not just a one all-purpose coach?
That's a great question, and I always like to give the example of human coaching. Would you trust one person with everything? I know I wouldn't.
Exactly.
The same way you can have your gym coach be your therapist, although a lot of people confuse the two and take their trainers on for a ride. But truly, each person has different expertise, and it's also good to hear different perspectives. In my opinion, that's why I recommend a personal board of advisors, right? I, for instance, have people in my life of different ages, backgrounds, industries, beliefs, because only when you have the combination of these you kind of form yours, right? And
Hmm.
I do believe everyone has something else to add in the equation. Now, when it comes to AI, it's also a technical differentiation. So when you have specialized AI coaches that are trained in specific data sets with specific experts, so in one case the sales experts and the other like leadership or coaches, it really helps make the content much more personalized and removes hallucinations to the maximum, of course. And the other thing is that when you have the ability to share the data from one AI coach to the other. So let's say I did a role play and I did terrible job, and now Esther, my motivation coach, can come in and tell me, hey, so you struggled there, but let's talk about it, or let's see the positive side and why this is helpful. I think it's a little more proactive coaching versus if I have to go always and ask Esther, hey, motivate me, or I have to go to Tego and say, hey, I have this practice. Now, each has specific things they need to do, and they know where to go to find the information, so the user experience becomes better at the end of the day. But yeah, that's the same thing as with humans. Again, you don't want to overload the human with
Hmm.
all of your problems, all of your questions. You want to sustain that relationship. So I tend to explain it like that. I hope that helps.
Yes, definitely. Because, right, you cannot just have an AI coach, you also need the humans using it and making benefit of it. And it brings me to a question that is, where do you see human managers fitting into this ecosystem alongside AI coaches?
It's a very current question. I think a lot of human coaches are now trying to figure that out too. And there's many ways I see AI coaches helping them. One, very practical one, is the fact that they can now see the user's strengths and weaknesses on a continuous and a daily basis, right? Because human coaching doesn't tend to be daily. It's like one a week, once a month,
Hmm.
or even less. So now, as a human coach, I can go and see, okay, how's Augusto doing this quarter? Where is he struggling? Now, in my next one-on-one, I'll make it data-driven, very focused, in a way that I can help him move the needle. As a company, imagine how much more data that is. So a human coach can now come in and say, okay, guys, we failed on XYZ thing this year. Why is that? Let me go and solve the data. Then let me ask the humans, what do you guys think? The managers, right? Tell me your perspective because you have more context. I now have all this data. I can now really see where the truth is, first of all, because data doesn't lie. But also, with that extra context, I can create a better strategy. And I can say, okay, next year, based on, let's say, the fact that it took 3 months to ramp up that seller, we know we need to hire a quarter beforehand if we want to hit quota on time. Another thing I've seen, so there's companies that do, those annual surveys for best place to work and all sorts of awards, and they get, for example, bad management ratings. It's way too late to see that in an annual review. You want to be proactive in solving these problems. If you've seen that people are saying to the AI coach, I'm unhappy, I'm dissatisfied, manager sucks, I can't see my career progression here, all these things, now you know that's like a signal that,
Hmm.
hey, I need to do something here and step in. The other real example has to do with coachability that we've discussed before. You want to know who's coachable, who has that high potential in them, to double down on them and show them that you know they're very valuable, that you respect the efforts they're putting in. Because if they leave, it's a huge loss. The knowledge lives with them, first of all. And back to what we were saying earlier, it's more costly to hire, etc., etc. Catch that early and you engage with them more, then you make them more loyal. So there's a lot of, reasons why you need that human in the loop too for that one-on-one extra personalization, because it's different when an AI coach tells you, hey, you're special, versus your manager saying, hey, I see you.
Uh-huh.
It's different dopamine, and this recognition hits differently overall.
Absolutely.
There's another angle I would add, which is more about go-to-market for human coaches, where a lot of times, let's say a leadership workshop might take 6 months, or it might take 2 hours, depending on the scope and what the goal is, but it's harder to sell because it's more intangible. You gotta trust me that after that workshop, somehow your managers will become better and will perform better in the long term. Versus if I can tell you, hey, you can use Dex2Go or a platform like Dex2Go, and in a week you get to see some metrics of improvement in the areas you care about. And it can be trained on your best practices and methodologies. That is a different approach. So you can help them with lead gen and with upselling, because now as a human coach, let's say I successfully sold you, we did a workshop, then how will I come back to you and get you to say, yeah, of course, I'll buy again? Versus if you have the tool and it tells you that they improved on X skill, they struggled on Y, now you can come back and say, hey, you see how I worked, I helped you on X, let's now come back for a workshop on Y.
Oh, that is beautiful, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Because you're actually improving and seeing the data. As you said, data is king, right? There's nothing else that matters more in 2025 than that data. And if we take a look at our last episode, we saw that if you have trash data in, trash data out. So you got to be very careful with what you're actually evaluating. And that brings me to another question, that is, a lot of these sales coaches, they focus on what to say. So how is Dexigo actually helping reps with non-verbal skills? I'm talking
Yeah.
about tone, pacing, and also body language.
Yes. So let's start with why that matters, right? In a world where, first of all, there's so much competition for everything, no matter what you sell, and especially with the AI outbound, right? AI is the R's, there's so much noise that you will not trust anything but a human that you can see as an expert, a human that shows you empathy, a human that understands your business model, your struggles, and shows you the way forward. All these soft skills have nothing to do with the product description or whether they use Medic or Medpic or whatever. It has to do with their ability to actively listen, to influence, to ask those probing questions, to dive deeper into the problem, and their gravitas. Like, are you taking them seriously or not? Do you feel like it's another salesy person in your inbox, or you're learning from them? Are they challenging your thoughts? So all that is engraved in Dex2Go as key skills. Of course, we want to make sure you follow whatever best practices in terms of what you sell, their pricing, things like that, but we're looking for those extra factors, and we do it by understanding on how you say what you say, and your body language, as you said, your tone of voice, confidence, but also in particular how you're influencing the specific person, back to what I was saying earlier, taking into account their personality. So we also have psychographic data involved from DISC, from Ocean, from public data we can find about these buyers. And then the idea is that we don't make you sound like a robot. Like, not all people in the same company should sound the same. That is failure. We're trying to understand your own way of selling and just improve that, make it better. But to understand what works or what doesn't, sure, people have to follow some sort of blueprint. Like, if we all use a different deck, let's say, how will we know that it's the deck's fault versus the human's fault? So that's why it's important to do both. But you're right, many companies fall flat in the soft skill side when it is indeed the thing that moves the needle 9 out of 10 times.
Well, that is so impressive. And you just mentioned some key soft skills, but I want to ask you, in this era of AI, what soft skills do you think are becoming more valuable each day? And how is Dexigo actually addressing them?
Yes, it's very hard to say which one is more important than the other because I think it's a combination. But a lot of it has to do with adaptability. See, people are really still trying to find that one thing that will make them win, that one playbook. which we know is so hard. That's why we're even doing this. We're trying to give ideas on AI plays and best practices, but it's never one thing. If it was, everybody would be successful, and most products right now are failing to prove value. So, adaptability is key because it shows curiosity, shows willingness to learn and succeed. And especially in sales, you always need to work based on the behavior of the buyer. What are you giving me as leverage? What are you telling me about the rest of the company? Should I go and multi-thread? Should I speak to someone else? How can I add value to you? There's so much that goes into a sales process. It's actually very strategic things. Adaptability and strategic thinking for me are top two. And when I see, when I speak to clients, I see discovery being like something they always talk about. But to me, it's not really discovery itself that's the skill. It's what I was saying about the probing questions and urgency. Because you can follow a good discovery practice. You can ask the same questions that experts say. You still might not have a good case, and that's because you're not working with the person. Discovery is something you build together, right? So if I don't follow your lead in a way to understand what you care about, I can follow the best practice and still have no clue how to sell to you.
Yes, there is no shortcuts to success. There is no perfect blueprint, and no one shoe fits all. So literally is learning how to do it, and everybody in the company is different. You mentioned that before, and that brings me to a question of you said Gen Z needs a different kind of coaching. What makes them different from, say, millennials in the workplace?
Yes. Firstly, it's that they want super transparency, and it becomes very challenging for other generations to do that because they're not used to it. Leaders, let's say Gen X and beyond, are used to hiding a lot of things and creating that disconnect from the rest of the employee pool. But we see now it actually leads to less productivity for Gen Z. Gen Z wants to feel an owner. They want to be in the things. They want to know. And it's a fear and it's a scarcity mindset that some leaders have that believe if I tell you where we're failing and where we need help, you might leave. And again, it's the opposite. It's the same concept I said earlier about knowledge. So a lot of people think, oh, why would I give these employees extra certifications and knowledge? They'll do it and they will leave and work for a competitor. No. If that's how you think, you shouldn't be in your role, first of all. The way you support and show up for your employees is actually creating a lot of loyalty. And at the end of the day, the role of an employer, like a teacher, should be to uplift their employees. So even if they go one day and move on to someone else, best believe if they felt that you helped them, they'll actually support you by maybe being a client, right? Maybe being a partner, saying good things about you, finding your next hire. So I think it's very important to look on the bright side. Now, outside of transparency, I think Gen Z cares for a lot of causes and they need to find meaning in what they do. So if you just give them a task like an intern, an Excel thing, and don't ask for their opinion, don't let them be creative, like let's say use TikTok, things like that, you're missing out and they will burn out. So it's about seeing them more as equal and as people that give a new perspective, in my opinion. It's not just they're young, they can't do anything. That's not at all. If you cultivate that curiosity and you show them a path forward that, hey, you can go up the ladder as fast as you prove yourself, they will 2x, 3x productivity for you.
Yes. I think that, for example, on my side of managing Gen Z, when I show them, hey, in 1 year, you could be here. Or I always ask them, okay, but being honest, what is the role you see yourself in 3 years and how much money you would like to be making by then? What will be your responsibilities? And I had one of BDRs, they told me, I want to be managing a region in 5 years with a team. I was like, oh, so you want my job in 5 years? Like she was like, yes. I was like, awesome. That's what I want to hear. I want people
Yeah,
with ambition that wants to
right.
drive further and have that motivation. We always need to
Exactly.
be giving that to them.
And if you were, of the scarcity mindset, you'd be like, oh, they'll take my job. Instead of thinking, oh, in 3 years, I'll be even further, right? Like
Exactly.
that's how it should be. And another reason why we did the leadership AI coach is to democratize access to that management skill set. Because if you are an SDR and you want to be an A, you should be able to take control of your career and say, okay, I'll work with Arden 4 times a week and get the skills ready so I can prove to my manager that, hey, I deserve this. I think we've been like hiding tools and secrets and avoiding like certain tough conversations in the workplace for so long, and now the tables are turning where, because employees always are looking to leave for a better opportunity, they now need these and deserve these tools to operate and succeed. And in the AI era, what's super interesting, and I don't want to talk about a whole other topic here, but a user owns their data, that's success. And an employee owns their career, that's success. And I'm all
Yes.
for it.
100%, 100%. I think that everybody should write that down. And if you're a manager, if you're a founder, please, take that into account. Sometimes with all of this information, or even when you're scrolling through LinkedIn, you can be overwhelmed and feel saturated because everybody's giving a bunch of tips of how to book 70 meetings in 10 hours. I did this, I replaced my team with AI, and now I have this X amount of meetings.
Yeah.
With all these coaches and data, how do you prevent salespeople from becoming overcoached or robotic?
Yeah, and we kind of touched on that, right? I think the coaching based on personality, based on background, based on personal and career goals is so important. And back to your example, what people are saying on LinkedIn, they're just pushing that one playbook for everyone. So even logically, it makes no sense, because even if it worked, now that 10,000 people are doing it, it will stop working next month. We saw it with emails, with sales. It's happening all the time. You saw it with like gifts, and now people cannot get bought by this. I was speaking to someone the other day, and it was a very good example. He said, Chris Willis, he said that he played golf, and he, like back in the day, he used to be getting like golf balls or whatever gifts, and he said, okay, I guess now I have to meet you. But if now today like someone sent him something like that, he wouldn't care, because before it was unique for a company to know you from all the data they can find, understand what you like. Now everyone has access to that. They can see it on your LinkedIn, and it's just another touch point, but it's not the thing that will make them buy. So when, again, back to the human skills, you speak to a human, you can connect and you feel understood, you will go with them. So it's never about sounding robotic, it's a mindset. You have to want to be unique. Also in life, because sales is life. Like, these are life skills we're talking about. If you are that person that whatever you see on Instagram, you go and buy, you'll never be successful. You'll be another statistic, right? So you have to want to stand out and look for ideas, but yet make your own strategy at the end of the day.
Facts. There's no way around it.
Look at you. You created the first take videos. Like, that's unique, but you wanted to do that. No one forced you, right? You were not looking, what
Yeah.
is everybody else doing? First take, I'll do a first take too. You created the standard.
Thank you. And I think that in my day-to-day nowadays with my team, I got shared spend base. I taught them my LinkedIn framework to have 25 plus reply rate on LinkedIn videos that you're sending to each prospect. And my team, they decided to first, they tried it. They're like, okay, August is doing this that way. I'm not very comfortable doing a video or being on camera right away. You know what? I'm going to take a whiteboard. I'm going to write some value props that we have for the clients, and I'm going to send that to them. And this BDR, he's now a top performer. He booked over 20 meetings last month. In the last 3 months, he has booked over 100 demos. Yeah, by email and LinkedIn. And before that, he was booking 9, 10 a month. Now he's doing 20, 30 a month. That's his goals nowadays.
That's phenomenal. I mean, that's it. The moment you get out of your comfort zone and you try something new and it works, it's amazing. And if it doesn't, you course correct, but you have to want to try. And a lot of those sellers that you're saying are following what's out there blinded. They're just lazy. They're not trying to be great at their craft. They're just trying to survive in their job. And today, survival is not enough. You have to be an
Mm-hmm.
expert, or else, whether we like it or not, yes, AI will replace you. But if you got those unique skills and you're adding something to the table, best believe people will want to hire you.
Yes. You just imagine being a bad restaurant in New York. You don't survive. You gotta be the best. That's
Exactly.
the same thing with SaaS. If you're not good and you're not trying to improve, man, they're gonna put a D on your safety, and your health inspector is gonna say this SaaS can't go anymore.
That's so sad because literally the other day I found out one of the restaurants I used to go to closed.
Oh my.
So
Uh,
sad, but
talking in that way, and well, we're at the end of 2025. Q4 is upon us, and it makes me think about the future. Where do you see the future of AI coaching going in the next 3 to 5 years?
5 years is a lot. I don't even know where I'll be in 5 years, let alone AI. In the short term to long term, I would say huge emphasis again on the proactivity. Imagine now we're talking and you start being racist or whatever, and you got that AI coach saying, hey, you're speaking bad, you're speaking mean, you're speaking whatever, watch out, you're talking to this person with what that personality, maybe you want to rephrase it this way. So proactive in alerting, in recommending, but in a very, very personalized way. And I have to explain also why this is important for the business, because the amount of people who are self-motivated, like those people on Duolingo every day, are very, very small. And yeah, in sales you have those competitive people that they want to show up and be on the top of the leaderboard. But when it comes to personal development, you need to really connect the dots on why someone should want to improve. The classic why people go to the gym the first day of the year and then they stop. You have to explain and show them continuously and give them mini rewards on why this is important and will help them succeed in the long term, because unfortunately it does take that long-term view mindset to understand that it might be painful now, but hey, it will be worth it. The reason why social media has destroyed us in a way is that short-term mentality of, hey, if you're not successful now, you're a loser, you'll never be.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, hey, reality is it takes years to achieve goals. It's not all about the hustle culture, and it's about staying committed to it. So that's where I think, that proactive coaching is very important, because not everybody can connect those dots in this way. And unless you also give them, it's the carrot and stick approach, right? I guess you need to give them those mini rewards here and there, then the bigger ones during performance review, then bonus at the end of the year. But there is
Mm-hmm.
more than just financial rewards. As we said, like, if you hear it from your manager, is better. So if AI can tell the manager, hey, remember in your next one-on-one, highlight XYZ thing that person did and compliment them, that will go a long way.
No, that is amazing. And I think this is one of the most comprehensive sessions we had so far. And this is the last question.
Okay.
Is there time for Desert Island? What are the three AIs you take to Apocalypse to everything is gone, but you can still use this AI somehow, internet's gonna work, but you can use this. What are you taking with you?
I wasn't expecting that, but I should have. One that comes to mind outside of Dexago, definitely Canva. Canva AI, I love. You can create, whatever you want, design. I'm very visual. I like make things, so that would be one for sure. This is so tough. AI tools, AI tools. Can you consider Riverside AI powered? I don't know. Is it?
Well, at least it helps with the edits.
I think it is, and for sure, so we can do more of these. And third, let's see. Third, I would do Loom. Loom has some amazing AI features that lets you also translate the transcript. I think that's very helpful doing, business internationally. So these would be my top three. But what about you? No one has asked you. You tell me.
Wow. Well, let's wait until I'm in the other side of the seat.
Sounds great. Thank you
Oh,
so
that's
much.
amazing. Thank you, Ioanna. I think this is one of the best episodes we had so far. It's a pleasure having you here and being the reason why this exists. So stop wasting time, people. Go on, check out Dextigo. And remember, Dextigo is your best coach out there.
The future is
Peace.
human.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.